Merciless 2, featuring a freakishly fucking shiny cover that basically turns completely white when exposed to sunlight. But it's actually a golden book. It lacks the nice texture of the previous book, but it is very, very smooth, and again, it is a shiny golden book, which is tempting a kitten beneath me. And just like the first book, it has the exact same design basically on the cover. The pentagram, the upside down St. Peter's cross in the name, the same title except for with a number 2 in it, which makes it fit in well with the series, and I actually kind of like that a lot. I'm not a huge fan of the color gold, so that color-wise, I kind of don't really care. But this looks to be pretty much the worst of the books in the series, from my guess. I haven't read the other 2 yet, but this was drastically not nearly as good as the first book. This one I give it like at most 3 stars out of 5, whereas the first book was a full 5 stars. And the main reason for that is the way Christianity is portrayed in this one compared to the way it's portrayed in the first one. Basically, the Christianity in this one is treated as being more or less a positive, a good thing. It even portrays one of the characters who literally tortures people in other countries for not being Christians as a good guy. That was not cool. I did not like that. I was not happy about that. That peeved me off a little bit. And basically, unlike in the first book, this book has don't do that, has a lot more Christianity in it, because the main character is actually going to a Christian school in this one, whereas the other one there was literally just 3 Christian characters, whereas this one, all but 1 character is Christian, which just makes it way too much Christian religious stuff. way too much. There is still some Christian extremism in it, but it only comes in the form of pretty much 1 character, and that fucked up teacher dude who tortures people in other countries, but he's not portrayed as the bad guy or as an extremist, which is fucking annoying. And the guy who is an extremist and is actually portrayed as being an extremist is one of the other main characters. And in this one, there's pretty much just 2 main characters and then 2 side characters that are tried to be shown off as main characters, but they really aren't at all. And unlike in the first book, the main character in this one is completely fucking mentally broken and has a lot of mental issues, definitely PTSD, which isn't surprising considering what happened in the first book. But it also makes this book come off as more of a thriller rather than torture porn, because the first book, firmly torture porn. This one, more of a thriller, mental horror book, because honestly, nothing torture-y or overtly violent happens until like the 20th fucking chapter, which was kind of annoying because I kept waiting for it, because since I read the first book, I expected this one to also be a torture porn, and I'm going to keep shining this at the camera because it's fun, and it's getting a kitten's attention. So I went into this expecting more wondrous torture porn books, but I did not get that. So it's part of the reason why I don't like this one even half as much as the first one. And there was a lot of Christian moral throat stuffing, especially from the crazy preacher teacher guy. Really didn't like him. Fuck that guy. The other real main character, the one who's actually portrayed as an extremist Christian, he's your stereotypical bad kid with a bad past who's trying to atone for his sins via getting tortured and torturing, which is kind of fucked up. But the stereotype, yawn, and frankly, I don't care for the bad kid with a bad past always being portrayed in novels as the bad guy, because it's overdone, it's a shitty stereotype, and more often than not, it's the good girls who are bad. Though the random rabbit killing scene, that was interesting. I did like that in the book, was the rabbit killing scene. And unfortunately, this one has no real twist ending at all, because everything is very predictable with this one. You can kind of figure out what's going on right from the get-go. I mean, the only character in this book who actually seems like she's nice is the one random nun, and the fact that she's the only character who seems nice immediately makes you suspicious of her, which pretty much fucks up the book. Like, not even like, as soon as I met her as this character's like, something's up with that character, and lo and behold, something's gotta be up with that character, but something's up with every character in this book, honestly. Except for characters that you literally never, ever, ever see. And unfortunately, the synopsis does not do this book justice either, because it literally spoils one of the events that happens in the book, which is Sophia's mother dying. Which, sure, it happens right in the first few pages of the book, but it would have still been nice having that not be completely spoiled by the synopsis of the book. Thankfully, when you actually go out and buy this book, you won't get the synopsis physically on the book unless you read the inside. And one thing I found also kind of weird with this book compared to the first book, if you get the first book, this guy, it says for mature audiences only, right on the inside cover. Whereas you get this guy, no such fucking warning. I don't know if that is because this one is the second in the series, so they assume that people have already read the first and know that this book is fucked up. Or if it was decided that this one wasn't nearly as mature, which I can agree with that. This one is not nearly as mature or nearly as dark as the other one at all, which, again, I don't like. And overall, if it wasn't for that cover and the title, I wouldn't have even realized this was a book from the same fucking series as the first book, because the tone is completely different. And that's again going with this being a thriller rather than a torture porn. I have not read the other two books quite yet, so my hopes are high for the third and fourth book. Hopefully they will follow in the footsteps of the first book and not this book, and frankly, feel free to skip this book in the series, because it's not nearly as good as the other book was, the first book. But at least it looks pretty, so this does look fantastic on my shelf. I will give it that. It's a wonderful book to have on my shelf. Oh yes, the other thing I really love about this, I like it when hardcover books do not have fucking dust covers. And this does not have a fucking dust cover. I hate dust covers. So, I have a shiny book.